저도 모르게 그러더라.
됐어, 나도 됐어. Okay, Anthony. You okay, Anthony?
So on page 2, the Heart Sutra in English. Thus I have heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the 5 skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, "How should a son of a lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the perfection of wisdom?" Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the venerable Shariputra with these words: "Shariputra, those men and women of lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The 5 skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lama dam gampo jise jambe yangla jase lu kangi lu jene dita nida nanda rasa jene dugo jise zikti nije kuga le banze nada sembe zole mari bedo dunga jise ve Rodo gula pachi tazi yala juju yande son Roda chelo nemo nilo leje jado ludeje Mare meze dunanyo chene jende latena Lene tajun sajo tazi yede ludo jase tewe Jena jene jede dalo mes jambe yangla arabadana de arabadana de arabadana de Seden chiki chirave de dalo de Barazane, Kada de Julu Tobaye, Lodria Babena Watedo. The short mandala offering on page 16. Saji Bukha Joye Medora, Rirale Nide Jabade. Sanje jindo mide provaye, roge nanda jina jebana yo. Jetsu nama tamba jena je, jogo kala jenze tetene. Jeda zambe de jenze mala, saji juje jaba vato so. Pranamindala Gandhiya Tayame. Refuge prayer on page 22. Saje Chodang Saje Chonala Janjo Bado Dane Jaduji Dage Chuje Jebe Sonamji Rala Benjere Sanje Prabhayu Chodang Saje Chonala Janjo Bado Dane Jaduji Dage Chuje Jebe Sonamji Rala Benjere Sanje Prabhayu Chodan soje chonala, janjo bardo dane chasuji. Nage cheche jibe sonamji, rala benjire sanje globarai. Tango deri tsande, keli tsande kabaret na. Shongi tsangche na dagi lu dang mu ju dang gewa de son jeba na si je kwe na tangwa dang de son daba pe wa wasi tegi na ni lu tangwa lu soma lu daba lu pe wa tena shiki long ju soma long ju daba long ju pe wa long ju tangwa geza tangwa geza soma geza daba geza pewa o te legi le dang lo ju geza son
daba pewa te juni shiga katu nane kaze lu tangwa kode peche rozo zambare jada ngana zo le dambo zo lu tongsen peya de kiche jure ngana zo tanda jadang lu sede je tanya tuku mara tang tuya ka nipa yo mara tanda lu ngune pake jimba tanya jimba tseta demba je tang lu tang tuya ki tanda je nipa yo mara sara nipa samba tanda je ma chaba kabo re tanda yendu ngana zo lu ngune tang tuku mara la tanda ki tangwa ina yang je penpa le nyo chunga nubi chaya niga yor jazang tanda ngana zo lu de yabo je dabo je ni te tingi soso dwaan kiru to sujin do je ni mutini rinpe je ni ya ko to jazang dungro tuya je mbeze je na ngana zo gesen chewa yor tanda yendu lu ngui so tangma to yana lu tongsen peya de je ane lu tangma tanda lu sungwa siya de jazang sara nipi samara tana maja pade lu jimba tangma runga sumbare tana ji rabjung tana ina nso chugi nanja tsode jimba tangma runga tana gaja sumbare jan tezo de yanko gaja sunga tsode ngune pake ngui ne tsule ya goba jiti chimbo yode tana sonsa nso lu sunga siya de mgewa mkoba mare lu sunga siya de lu tang ya tseden chigi tuji mare ji pado ane lu kanyu manju matangwa yago sunga re se warwa chazang tang mune pake lu tseden chigi tang tuya ka lebi kare ne tang re se warwa chazang marza tanda lu tseden chigi tang tuya ka nipa meba yu zang ane tanda lu yago chi sunchua che ane mawa par soso mune lu tang ya ki tseden ki nipa nipi kare ane lu pame to gashi troshin to tang ya ki tuji lebro tuji tanya re, tanda ngu so lu tongsen peya sowa je, lu songwa siya je zang tuyla mali ji pado ane matangwa songwa je baas. Je zang ngu so lu je nena tsama yo wa tang, ta kanda so so lu tangbo yuwa le songjo ya po je go yo re. Lu tangbo jisa neba tesa do so so rani detang yung tso tu go yo re. Je zang ngu so lu de chola chini de ngu so 신로고 여러 번 류도 돌아가지나 아니 류되게 생게 땡야고 지고 두여서다 류다 생이 땡되면 류가 맞지 같아서도 아니 시야슬라가 말해 제가 먼저 시야스 상보 생 땡사 시 류되게 생게 땡지면 되게 차용비 그래는 류생이 땡되면 류가 치는 여러 번 류생 땡되면 류가 치는 거 다시 시야스야 돼 도서 거를 제가 소소 유리 못 쳐야게 제도 어느 류 대단 거야 류 대단 요하나 지단기 주소 상보 로그야 나는 모세게 등류 있잖아 지소서 주내야 보는 거야 그럼 도서지 류 차대고 요래
We're on the fourth verse of the root verse of the training anthology, which begins from giving away to all sentient beings your body, your position, and your good gain in the past, present, and future, and protecting, purifying, and enhancing this. So, in this verse, it talks about the practice of giving one's body, in giving one's positions, and giving one's good gain. So referring to the accumulation of merits, to whatever the merits that one may have gained in the past, present and future, should be given away to all sentient beings. And then protecting and purifying and enhancing this. So now In this, during our previous session last month, we have talked about the practice of giving one's body. So when it comes to the practice of giving one's body, for us as an ordinary practitioner or the initial practitioners, we may not be able to, it is not, we're not qualified, or we're not actually to engage in giving away one's body when it comes to the practice of giving away one's body here as an initial practitioner. But what we should do is to engage in the practice of meditations and mentally giving away one's body to all other sentient beings, which in a way that we're preparing ourselves to, to prepare ourselves and train ourselves to be able to give away one's body in the future when we actually become advanced stage of practitioner. So as we mentioned earlier, that at this point, we cannot actually engage in the practice of giving one's body, because if we do so, then instead of benefiting, it will become more harm. It will create more harm upon oneself, and also to whom you're giving your body, and so on. So therefore, point as an initial practitioner, the practice of giving one's body is not suggested. What we should do is rather we should, by protecting one's body, one is practice of engage in a virtuous practice and engage in abandoning the negative actions and accumulating merits and engaging in positive actions, so that eventually one will become a fully qualified to be able to engage in the practice of giving over one's body, one's body, as it mentioned in the text. So therefore, protecting one's body is said to be more important at this point. Giving one's body, engaging in the practice of giving one's body is suggested when one enters into the Bodhisattva's bhumi, where it says, once one is able to enter into the Bodhisattva's bhumi, then one will have no regrets, no hesitations, but one will do so with delightfully. If we, whenever one, has a chance to give away one's body to others, one will be so delighted, very joyfully to be able to give one's body to other sentient beings. Well, when one enters into the Bodhisattva's bhumi. So prior to that, it is not suggested for us as ordinary practitioners to engage in practice of giving out one's body, but continue to practice mentally to prepare oneself to practice of giving out one's body. So it is only when the time comes, which means when one gains certain realizations, or when one enters into Bodhisattva's bhumi, one will then be able to engage in these practices. So, so therefore, at this point, keeping one's body healthy is something that is very important, because if one is unable to keep one's body healthy, if one's health is deteriorates, then one is stepping towards stepping closer towards one's death, because whether someone individual is alive or not is depending upon whether the body is functioning properly and body is functioning properly along with one's mind. Because even though one's mind may not become non-existence. As you deteriorate, as one deteriorates one's health, then eventually it will take us to this body. The body will take us to separate ourselves from one's mind. So then it will be pronounced as a dead person. So then with that, we will have no hope for engaging in our practice and enhancing our practice. So therefore, it is important for all of us to really, at this point, is to really protect one's body and to remain healthy by engaging in all kinds of practices that keeps our body healthy.
자, 내내 유동어서 류 송저지야 이렇게 정보를 저다 나비 쇼는 나라야 모세게 되는 나게 그래야 제일 집중이 에네베 뒤를 보시 대도야게 된다요 송송거리 이네다 저도 다나마로 들려 나말 가버려 는 가서 마지막에 다가다 내가 체야래 이네야 그 뒤만이 배치와데 너야게 되게 무서 여러 소소 주된지네 다 뒤에서 치와데 너도야게 요 말에 야 뒤만이 배치와 너야게 소소 당하여 돼 자, 다가다 뒤에서 치에네 그래 되게 이나게 요 말에 이네 뒤만이 배치와 너니 아니 소소 제 사람을 가서 용하이네 데르나야 아니 잠보치 저 잠보치 간도도 루토이나 안데 내내라 때니 되게 살아 때니 뭐 말이야 아니 소소 제와 자산도 뭐니 아니 메트니 지기신이 진짜데 맞춰야다 아니 가서 랑도 수준도 땡에게 교신이 내가 쳐봤다 아니 소소 주셔 주드나래야 최상지가 거기 용야 용거로 아저는 된다고 전에 아니야 사다 줄에 자다마로 나 유준도 칼라사야레 돌아가야레 마지 르 소야기 치다 장장 마대로 다 류종징이 있는다 지 칼라 사야단 주도에 최배 근데 자야단을 고야지 같은 참아 야보지 바신 유전은 르데 송주지야 제자자 이미선을 줄에 저는데 그 된다고 전사다네 르드 키친 보이 이마선사 그 것도 소야기 치다 행문서 되게 못 보지 땅으로도 저는데 주도는 희와이나야 아니 류송주 제고야 너 소소를 류리야 내면 메제와 나가래 무색의 소소를 류리야 제 통중 맞자와다 소소 류리야 맘에 맞다라서 근데 기침을 소요로 제가 내도 송화해야 돼 소소기 류데 세대의 땅 위에 들 말이지 봐도 아니 같이 대달리 아니 송화 제거의 기침을 해서 또 송고요래
So here now, it is certain that later or sooner, we all need to also have to embark on the path of death, which is inevitable. There's no other methods to protect ourselves from death, right? So, however, there's a way in which one can sustain one's lifespan by protecting one's body, in other words, by keeping one's body healthy and being very careful with one's body whenever we're eating, drinking, or whatever the actions, the bodily actions and body and mental actions that we may undertake should be a contributory factor for enhancing one's health instead of deteriorating one's health. Although in the certain practices of Vajrayana, according to certain Vajrayana practices, the one can prolong one's life. It is called by engaging in the practice of immortality. So one can practice those and gain the immortal bliss that one can sustain one's life until one gains the state of enlightenment. However, this is not possible for us at this point. We, as an ordinary practitioner, and such practice it can be only done by someone who are on the advanced stage of the practice, or advanced stage of the Dharma practice. So we can sustain at this point. We are ordinary practitioners. We can sustain and prolong our life by, as I mentioned earlier, by being very careful with our body, eating, drinking, and so forth. And with this kind of positive, with this kind of actions, can prevent our untimely death. It cannot prevent death, but untimely death can be prevented by means of engaging in appropriate practice, by taking care of one's body and being careful with what one's eating, drinking, and so on. And so here it says, now at this point, it is very important that we really need to cherish our body and be very careful with our body so that one can sustain one's practice by keeping one's body healthy. And not only that, but also according to the sacred mantra practice, it says it is very important to take care of one's body. It says one should not torture it. One should not let one's body go through a very intensive hardship. So that not only that it is just to have a healthy body, but also to follow the practice of Dharma and the Vajrayana practice, where Vajrayana teachings, where it's stated that it's important to really to protect one's body and don't let one's body go through all kinds of difficulties and so on.
Talu taba ziyade che, taba ziyade megewa mukawa taba che ba asar sambo, so lu de, ane megewa chiya tole ya, ane pechu tanju yo ma re se wo re. Chazan megewa mukawa taba che ba asar sambo, ta lu de megewa chiya tole pechu tanju yo ma re se sambo, ta megewa ziyade kanda che la go re, tato ya muzu shinju che go do.
So then here it says, the next is, it says, purifying, protecting and then purifying one's body. What is meant by purifying one's body is purifying one's body. It refers to not engaging in negative deeds and always engage in positive deeds. That is what is meant by purifying one's body.
Chazam megewa ziyade nanju dira zonar tsijino wa shaju sambo, londo timba kaa chi dewa chechi jiris nepa sayadabo. Ane londo timba kaa ki dunga chechi jiris nepa sayadabo. Tena shagor chazam, da giwa ziyade chazam, tani riboda maa chu tani sonyu go yore. Ina ya, ko tani de zo chu tani sonyu haji maza, dunga yone tuli chu kelenga ina da, chu kemelenga ina da samale yodhya chire da kanda. Chazan, 다 룬도 때마 강이 대화지 이르스네 바스 개와스야 데 간지르스나 소소리야 리부 데지 쟁이기 자와치래야 나 개와스나 아 리고르다 관도 추키냥에 있는 말이 있는다 소소리야 리부 데지 무슨 전방왕 된다 제 마음을 좀 주의 된다기 데도 가루치래야 나 개와스나 리고르 빼는 것도 소소리야 미지게 땅상모르비지 시외는 소소 생리야 완전专는 레기도와 제가 소소주를专는 레야데 저 가를 때는 용어르나 저 가를 때는 용어르나 파줘되고 소소를 니비 땅치 시외인데 니벨 때는 소소주를 专는 레바로와 제가 데 专는 데처와 데 데체데 파줘가 땅상모 대시발 때는 용어로 제가 파줘도 땅상모 시외데 기위자와지를 차로 근데 그 리베데 파절 대지 좀 말아. 대나시게 현달에 승에 버르지 라바이나 라니는 최근에 지금 승에 버르지 라바이나 라니 때마다도 예메데와 당랑선 컨트롤 대인지부 예메데와 당상 제바다 대인지부 컨트롤 당상을 지용으로 와. 제산데 과유비크라니 소소 뢰래 여비 아니 롱당 차서도 좋아데 아니 나중에 말아도 본지 친구 지니 아니 라상 르메데와 세메데와 또 용어도 돼 라니레야 그 대지 중에가 컨트롤 못해 제바라와 대 가르데네 중어는 주 바로 보고서 승해 버질레비 내내 때는 중어로 제가 네 라니레야 동해 중어래 저 동해 단주의 동해 지르와 다 동해 지나는 그래 동해 지나는 그래 제가 대 동해대 파적 승해 발라발 때니 중앙에서 파적 승해 발라바데 대 먹이 자와 자는 거 제가 대내도 소소게 르데 라예 수라야 안에 대지 준투야게 쳐려야 베제 제스그레 베제다야지 마도 라예 수는 있나야 지 동에 지야지 토려야 아니 베제만 나와 제니데 야고지 소소게 되는 남을 건도 제 제시지기 토네 ene karsabre sasa chigure so tene sungo sare.
So we talked about engaging in positive deeds or a virtuous deed and abandoning non-virtuous deed with regard to this purifying. So here now, what is meant by virtuous deed and what is meant by non-virtuous deed? So virtuous deed is a deed that can give rise to happiness as a result. And non-virtuous deed are the deed which give rise to the suffering as a result. So that is what is meant by, that is how we distinguish whether one engages in the positive deeds or the negative deeds, or the virtuous deeds or non-virtuous deeds. And so therefore it says purifying here, referring to always try one's best to engage in the positive deeds or the virtuous deeds, which become a cause for giving rise to happiness of oneself and that of other beings. And always engage, always, abandon engaging in the actions of negative or the non-virtues, which become the cause for suffering of that oneself and that of other sentient beings. And for instance, if one, out of good motivations, if one wants to say something, good things about others, with the good motivations, as soon as you express the beautiful words regarding whoever is close to oneself, and that creates not only that a cause for happiness for one's own self, but also it actually gives a delight in the person whom you are speaking to. Similarly, if one engages in the negative deeds of speech, such as using harsh words, expressing harsh words with regard to others, and not only that, you are actually accumulating a cause that give rise to suffering of yourself in the future, but also immediately it affects the other person, and then the other person makes unhappy. The negative speech towards whom you are actually using, the person will become so unhappy. And by creating such unhappiness to those individuals, and that certain individual will not actually, again, if you are lucky, the person is a good practitioner of patience, and he or she may not react towards us. However, will not the case, because most of us were not perfected in practice of patience, will react accordingly. If whoever uses the words that are unpleasant is something that is not pleasant to your ears, you immediately, either you retaliate or your reaction will be in accordance with what whoever is, express the words towards yourself. So therefore, with this kind of deeds, actually destroy the peace of one's peace of mind, in other words. And by destroying one's peace of mind, will then imbalances our physical elements, such as the elements of the blood, wind, and so forth. This then deteriorates our health. And so therefore, not only that negative deeds will cause suffering for us in the future, but also there's an immediate result of those negative deeds, deteriorating one's health, most importantly. So therefore, at any given time, when one is engaging in any kind of actions of the body, speech, and mind, making sure that your actions of the body, speech, and mind is something that is virtuous, something that becomes a cause for happiness of oneself and that of other beings.
지난다 모두 르데 메기와 주님 무거워 되는 제토르는데 가버려 이내다 소소문이 강의 지용진이 몇째 제래 지난번도 제바스 룬도 제비가래 소자타모 뭐보드나 감바고를 제라서 봐 무슨 누구 주에도 집에 소자된다 제 감바고를 제라서 봐다 된다 용거래 야 제 무슨 누구 주에도 제 마동에게 세제 류참었다는 뭐보 가는 줄로 하다 안 나는 줄로 알아서 봐 된다고 돈이 뭐보 소 초벌을 제가 자와니 주로 가지게 받은 것도 집에 그러니까 뒤에 가리제니 가가가지니 도선로 되고 여러 된다를 제가 근데 저 봐서 베비거리네 한국마고 저 관심만 된다 뭐야 된다 라래 된다 여들어 뭐 남방문이 저에네 야네 소야도 저도 그거 저 되는 야가 되네 소참 좀 뭐지 집에 두수 들어야 되니 저쪽서 봐준 가서 그래 지금 정준 로야게 저한테 가니 야네 송외 그거 전에 그래서 그래야 어느 소자처럼 뭐 소초여서 다도 소초한테 또 르르 되는 용거로 르 되게 용거로 제가 내가 뭐게 무서 가서 르지 막이와를 주는 거고 용서 가버려 되나 얘기 말아서 줘도 맞이 배기 때문에 다나주 바지도 비게 신의 좀에서 나한테 오래 다마다 우주참마다 무서 줘도 맞이 배는 뭐뭐 이럴 때 저런 무서 많이 받는 마토 뭐게 받은 것도 집에 가면 뭐 줘야지 고요래 배는 무슨 일이 돼 봐야 야 지사고도는 지야다 마상어서서 tendaga neba yunguduwa chidang lutsuwa de chidang tundruwa rite nguzo mungi juwe de chitu uyo marwa tala tala soba dali nguzo yang neba mbu shadu shuwa chandu uyo re ina yang ta chi soso ki tong tuya dang soso ki pake tangzi che tuya ki re taso dili ya soso lu de magiwa mako jiya dang an dina diang zo kulong utani yungo re jizang sosoge ji megewa jiyagi kulong meba tanda jiyada kichimbo re jizang soso parabol neba jindigo kulong yubi tani neba jeba tang soso tanda neba jindigo kulong mebi tani ina mehi bada pami be wangi parabol neba na chawa ina tazo le yang diba chijung yuhare jida tanda yidu zo sosoge neba jindigo kulong 매바 제구야다 엔터나 얘기 소소 진로전님도 강거이네 소소 뢰데 예래야 만에와 근데 토레 베지탄다 시바치 나무에도 기침거래 저한테도 다 봐야 돼 먹이와 먹고 봤다
If possible, we're still going through the explanation of the purifying, which means which importance of engaging in virtuous deed and abandoning the actions of non-virtuous or the negative deeds. So if possible, one should always protect one's vows of the 10 virtuous vows, in other words, and by abandoning 10 non-virtuous. So here now, we, as an initial practitioner, it is not easy for all of us to really observe those 10 virtuous actions by abandoning 10 non-virtuous actions, which is not easy at all. Just think about the bodily actions of taking the life of others. We're trying our best, not intentionally taking the life of others, but there are many lives that we are actually taking unknowingly, in other words, without paying the close attention to it. Think about every day, how many other beings, the insects, the very small insects that are by stepping onto it, so how many of them we're actually taking the life of those insects? There's numerous, and we can't count this if we think about that. And it is not that we are, not taking the life of others because I'm not killing others intentionally. Will not really stop, stop us from, taking the life of others, because though that one may not have any intention of taking the life of others, we still do so unknowingly and stepping onto all those, effects, and even other very subtle beings that something that is not visible and something that cannot be, contacted by our ordinary 5 senses. It is therefore one of the most ancient Indian religion, which is Jainism. They always even, put a face mask wherever they go, covering their mouth, because there are many subtle beings that can be killed by our breath, even our breath, and breathing in and out can be very harmful to those beings. And so therefore, the practitioner of the Jainism are the reason for why they are actually covering their mouth and not wearing actual shoes, and they are barefooted is because when you are actually walking barefooted, you're more careful and more vigilant how you walk, and so that it becomes more mindful. But when you put on your shoes and you know that your leg will not be hurt, so you become more unconscientious about that. So therefore, this is how we are, unknowingly engaging in all those kinds of even from our body. So it is for this purpose the Buddhists, as a tradition, right from the beginning, right with the time of Buddha itself, there are 3-month long retreats in the summer, because during the summer in India, there will be more insects and more animals that can be running and on the path, in the soil, everywhere. So therefore, the monks are said to be, observe the 3 months long retreats, uh, summer retreats, where they're not allowed to go far away, only being in the certain limits of the place, not allowed to go further from that place. They are not permitted to go out of the boundary. It's only limited space. So it is for this purpose the Buddha had, skillfully, asked his followers to observe 3 months long retreat during summer. And so it's said that according to the Dharma, there are not only the insects that we are taking the life of the insect, but also there are many other beings, what we call the formless beings. We are taking the life of those formless beings. Take an example of the Nagas. The Nagas that belong to the category of the animal realms, where they are not something they are not visible to our eye consciousness, and they are somewhere in many other places, and we are harming those Nagas' place and destroying their places, and then taking the life of Nagas unknowingly. So this is how we are engaging. We are engaging in all kind of negative deeds, and so we are now, although that we are unable to see all those subtle beings or the formless beings from our side. Now, whatever the beings that we may see, we should always refrain ourselves from engaging in actions that are harmful to those beings, which is very important for all of us as practitioners. And so then particularly intentionally harming others, intentionally taking the life of others is completely forbidden in the practice of practitioner of the Dharma, because you may take a life of other beings, but there's a big difference whether that you have taken the life of others intentionally or unintentionally. There's a big difference between the two when it comes to the consequences of the taking life of others. So it is therefore one should always remain vigilant and very careful, not engaging in actions that are harmful to others.
다 배워 세들에 류동 류송아 류다바 류 배워 세들에 류 배워 세데 배워 세데 저다 노노 망볼 배워 관이 건도 배워 어떤 애를 저다 늘 배워 세데 단데 되게 소소
체크 당선 이제 누누스나
배는 소소
뉴뉴스네. 녀석이. 녀석이 뭔가
마음보다
이렇게 제 가서는 누누스를 가는 게 고마워요.
그래
라스. 뉴뉴 마음을 쓰고.
제가 먼저 배들 쓰고 아니 마음보 배워서 그거 마음보 발 배워 주세요 하고 근데 뉴뉴 마음보 배워다 어떤 얘기 제가 근데 배워서야 돼 소소기 륜되게 되니 아니 계산 관에 건도 배워다 대단한 맛에 륜되게 아니 자와 zamboji talpe chetane maam paraya 아니 남의 유대 제den기 텐텐레치 용투와 제바들라 배워서 어두더라고 해.
So then the next is enhancing. So what is meant by enhancing is so now the enhancement referring to the enhancement of one's root of virtue through body, speech, and mind, and as a result of enhancing one's root of virtue through body, speech, and mind, one will be able to accumulate a cause, what we call the 8 qualities of 8 ripening qualities, so that can ripen and give rise to its result.
자다 럼르가 주는 것을 뢰데 베제단에 가르 빼거나 아니 남이 주네 소만하시기 제니도 이체도 길이야 어느 산지 고마 더도야 되게 더래 베제나야 근데 마저이네야 제지와 주루당 제와 두윤 선체래야 산지 고마 더도야 되는 데와 더도야 되는 더래 베가서 베제나야 마저이네다 지와니 지와 주니 ene pe kesan jesan do ya taya ki tini nami yuti jede ke tena ki yoya ki thale bese je jeda nami yuti jede se ya de toje tatu ke mare nami yuti jede de ya jeda panjare do nge de mare ro maran so luten de dajin joje sami luten yin se go jeda dajin joje sami luten de hajang ki dajin joje sami luten se ya de me tel ma do 매매에 길다데 요야 그래요 말아 매 때이 바가기라 뭐 삼아데 다시 주제 상에 때 응어도 제거요 말에 제가 나와제다 저버주 상에게 때데 매 때가 나니자 하장게 되니 초도 주가 이마다 근데 초도 주가 용하나 주소대야 초도 주가 용도 로고 봐 또 소용 거라 제가 저데 가르르는 추두야게 되니 때 초도 주가 지어 송고요래 teneji ma tong so aname yote jide teneji yuwa chegr so toje tadun ro chi minus tena mare chega name yote jide ji so so juwa ina enten de tani ya debon geru sui do nani ya de logiko tos je sana ga ba kana kansa ji ya to ya ke ni ba chimbo yote nge ten teneji re chega name yote jide se ya 대나기 다진 조제 서 되네요. 대대기 때하고 유되니 소도 공기 루지 이나 사실 전부 용도야. 대나기 때 저도 좀 이 진짜도 제네니 다진 조제 때에서 기치 못 저거로 저 때에도 남의 때 제대 대나지 뭐 버주하게 털어야 하는 류데 앞에 당고레스 빼그레스 오토스레
So enhancement here, if at best, the enhancement should be achievement of one's achievement of enlightenment within one's brief lifetime. This will be the actual enhancement here, purifying and enhancing particularly. That is what is meant. If that is not possible, then within 7 lifetimes or the 16 lifetimes. If that is not possible, then one should always have a motivation of engaging in virtuous deeds, practicing and accumulating positive deeds, positive cause, and eventually one should think of embarking on the path of enlightenment. So this is what is actually meant by enhancing, or what is referring to the enhancement. So this can be done on the basis of engaging in the practice of body, speech, and mind, which becomes a development or the enhancement of one's virtue, or one's root of one's virtue, root virtue, in other words. Sorry. With enhancing the root virtues, one will be able to accomplish the 8 ripening qualities that we talked about earlier. However, this 8 ripening quality is not ultimate quality that one need to achieve, which is not something an enlightened state of quality. In fact, this 8 ripening qualities are eventually said to be as something that need to be abandoned in order to gain the state of enlightenment. Just like our, human rebirth. Human rebirth is very necessary, particularly the human rebirth endowed with 8, leisure and freedom, which is very important for one's development of one's practice and working towards state of enlightenment, achieving the perfect human rebirth is necessary. However, the human rebirth is something that is something. This is not something that is that we ultimately, looking for, which is not our ultimate accomplishment. In other words, our ultimate aim is to gain the state of enlightenment. But to gain the state of enlightenment can be worked by achieving this human rebirth. But the human rebirth need to be abandoned. Similarly, these 8 ripening qualities are not something that is enlightened state, quality of enlightened state. This is also something that becomes a contributory factor for embarking of oneself on the path of enlightenment. But these are not the enlightened qualities. That's all.
다 기즈 뭐 나무 유대 제대기 내가 된치바지 그래다 된다지 요약 주주마도 이나야 지와 슈마들이야 아니 매 된지 연토야기 소소 주소 주고야 기침벌에 아니 매대야 주전이 시와다 아니 제 주대에서 되는지 그걸 다 간다 주동체에서 되는지 내지 돈에 야고를 쓰고 다 간다 대마 조인에 간다 지와 슈마데 매대 되는지 요하다 대야 아니 배 매대 제 semba sambochi 로 semba sambo치다 아니 배 얘들 저와 자친구들 루통에 되지기 때 지하기 주소지 주투네 야타주로 제가 남의 지대에 가서 모두 단지 손서 말에 제가들의 체주 제송을 되는데 용 커버로다 용 커버인데 용 메주다 말때 양한테나 용을 주소하려고 와 제가 체를 못 되고 하는 거다 아니 카드 상보 용야다 대나시게 리포선 서버를 지하는 거다 안테나시 준노노 주 배워 주표선 서버 용해다 아니 가지이나 덴바르마와마다 자주면은 추춘 바세 강 지마와 덴바마도 지게 자주면은 봐 안테나시게 자와타 침보 네 깨다 침보 어떤다 알리에 지야다 안다나시 엔주나 지대양 포이되는거다 엔다나시 그 또단데 봐 어떤다 지고래서 그렇다 내가 된주나 때에 남의 지대양 대서거래 다들 용하나 안드나 용의 주소를 그래 봐도 주소모도 마송아 안데 용고 말아 제가 대인도 당원의 모델이 쉬어야 돼 남의 지대 지 뭐가 용어 제발라 단다 류인데 표시다니 주소를 내야 거대 그 상태는 지레 되다 된 걸로 자시하는지 아들이나 지라서 어떤지
So if possible, it is always for us to look for engaging in the actions that will become a cause for achieving these 8 ripening qualities. If that is not possible, one should always at least engage in the practice or actions that will become a cause for gaining a perfect human rebirth. So, by achieving this perfect human rebirth, will enables us to encounter a qualified spiritual teacher and to be able to receive unmistaken teachings of the Dharma. With this, again, one will be able to accumulate a merit and cause that give rise to the 8 ripening qualities. The 8 ripening qualities that we talked during our previous teachings once, it's such as long life, having attractive physical appearance, and good caste, and having a wealth, and always speaking the truth, and power, fame, and a being a male form that we talked during our last teachings. And this, in order to accomplish these qualities, 8 qualities, it is not something that can be achieved without accumulating causes. So we need to engage in the actions that becomes a cause for giving rise to these qualities. Once one is able to gain those qualities, then one will be able to engage in the practice, and one will be able to, without few obstacles, without there's only a few obstacles. There will be not plenty of obstacles as we have right now to our spiritual practice. One can carry out one's practice with only a few obstacles, so that one will have a really wonderful chance of embarking oneself upon the path of enlightenment.
남의 지대 지기 주소도 다시 마셔야지 될 좋아요는 거더라.
So we'll stop here with this today, and if you have any questions, please take some questions.
So I guess I'm still trying to understand the value of giving up one's body. It seems that since especially a human rebirth is of such great value for achieving our aims to achieving enlightenment, that giving up one's body would not be productive. I guess I understand this in terms of attachment to one's body. But it seems to me that it might be better to, as in the tantric practices, to gives one's body in service to one's teacher rather than giving it up. I guess I just don't normally see what the situation would be that would make it more beneficial to give up one's body, except under extraordinary circumstances.
되게 류에 따야 되게是吧？它的这류지么따야就是吧？류에 따야 돼. 근데 뜻이 류에 따야 돼야 즉 믹스에다 가르침다면 그렇게 나 침을 시야 통문에도스 간다 펜더 침을 쓰면로 펜이 침을 시야 통문에도스 그래서 대고 즉 준비 야고 영화를 시야 통문에도스 그 지단다 말아서 남녀의 시야가 소소 류的풍벌이야 지금 차진치 교만에서 해야 되면 남녀 중국어로 봤어. 이내 그 따야 돼 그렇지 양안 이와가서 따야를 텐데 그 시오 텐데 한별로 진짜 가려야 돼 연구를 나왔어. 그래서 소소 그 류된 데이터 안에 지금 류 따야를 하는 류된 데이터 류하고 송지 전에 지금 장시로 들어가 저원 중국어 봤어. 그래서 이게 지금 시험이 텐데 따야 류를 조금 더 따져야지. 지원할 때 이렇게 우리 야구용을 시에 통보해줬어. 기다리게 통보해줬어. 근데 수술이 가야 되게 수술에 자유로만 된다리야. 시험주시야도 다 되게를 또 따져야네. 그런데 제가 말을 했어. 기다리시라.
다른 것들 류 동생배를 무슨 땅투야 가버래. 근데 차례야. 나는 그거를 싫어 가버려. 된 거는 쉬어나 싫어. 지난 말은서 근데 땅세에 저 류 땅세에 류 집바당 게 쉬어라. 류 집바당 성도 저 집바세에 동생의 자로 동의 셈바들 자로 그래. 제가 동의 셈바 동생의 자요 비그래. 대미들 저들 신나서 들어오고 신나서 제가 대 잡아던 데 거래. 제가 말한서 소소를 잘라 간다 주요 있나요? 소소 류다 되니 도이나 류들 잡아 치워요래. 와. 저런 얘기인데 저런을 저런 류리 심이 주는 어디 되기는 늘 고리 심이 주는 어디 저런 되기 사그라 같은 거 되기 아주 가버래. 제가 말한서 요 간다지를 차와 있나요? 차가 제 지금께서 소소 류리 되지. 마을 때 류리 차바지 소소를 왕대하게 잘라신다를 차가버래. 로마자 있는 강바 있는 참 소소로만데 참만에 자기도 열때 소소를 류다 되니데 도이나 류 돌금이 강바 돌금이 뭐라 돌금이 있어가 버려. 제가 그 짐바 다운에서 뭐 무에서 파게 뛰니 콜펜도 이미 또 말해. 제가 소소게 로기 나리야 제 세나 매비 토니 아니 자기 매비 토니 땅 투야 돼 류다 아주 가고 요거로 제가 내가 전에 류대 땅 가고 요거래 류땅 투야게 아니 류지마 땅 통하게 된다 류지마 세대 땅 통하게 니바지 소토를 요와 있는 데니 소소를 문에 박에 세나 아장 중주 자대로 제가 내가 전에 땅 갈려요. 제가 짐바 류 땅세한테 그 땅 가고 있는 주지. 그래서 세는 매비 도안에 소소 땅 가고 있는 주지. 류데 기침을 쏜 거예요. 맞아. 류 땅에 파절에 옆에다 지주 계제대 시고요 말해.
So as we mentioned earlier, that it is more about the mental practice of giving out of one's body. It is when we talk about giving out of one's body, engaging in the practice of generosity with regard to one's body. It is not necessarily that we are actually giving out one's limbs and so on and so forth. This is not what we are talking about here at this point. we're talking more about we are mentally preparing ourselves that you are capable of giving out even one's own body. This is will really prepare oneself to perfect one's practice of generosity, because the practice of what is meant by practice of generosity is always simple in Tibetan, which means the motivation of the mind that has willingly to give away. It is a mental state without any sense of stinginess, because the opponent of practice of giving is the miserliness. And miserliness is actually not independently arising, but miserliness too is coming into being from attachment. Miserliness is something that actually arises out of attachment. It is given rise by attachment. So therefore, to practice detachment, to practice overcome one's attachment, and mentally practice of giving away one's body is something that is very, very effective for engaging in the practice of generosity, because there's no any other things, regardless of how precious they may be, whether it is be it a diamond, gold, platinum, whatever they may be. We have a strong attachment to this, but we have our attachment is not stronger than the attachment we have towards our body. This is true, right? If somebody asks us that, well, you want to give away your diamond ring or you want to give away your head, and what will we choose? We will protect our body, right? Just let the diamond ring go. You know what? I don't care about diamond ring. We'll just offer. I'll give it to you. Just leave me alone. I'll give you my diamond ring. So this really tells us that how attachment that we have towards our body. And similarly, regarding our house and our cars and so forth, we have attachment to all of this, but we do not have as intense attachment that we have towards our own body and so on. So therefore, it is right from now, we should always prepare ourselves to the most attachment that we have is towards our own body. So if one is able to mentally to practice to give away this body, then this will cut the root of stinginess or to cut the root of miserliness. By cutting the root of miserliness is then lessening the intensity of attachment. So by prolonging such practice will really give us an actual power of getting rid of miserliness and getting rid of attachment towards one's body. If one is able to get rid of attachment to one's body, then there isn't much as attachment that really binds us, and that really influences our thoughts and emotions.
제가 그래도 그 전반으로 따지나 땅 깔려 집어 용 거래. 동부 주는 너부터 땅 나와요. 근데 텔레장 보고서 땅 소속 보고 소속 보고 땅 가와요. 보고 레자 잔다 땅 가와요 거래. 잔다리 저 소소랑기 몽 땅 가와요. 왜나 땅가는 소리야. 저랑 몽 땅 모터니도 가요 로지 날 때려주 고치서 라는 길에서나 이번에 저 태고 있는 모터 태기나 그러면 몽 태기에서 가보러 와. 제가 땅 갈을 때려요. 제가 니마 땅에 가라야. 배 땅 갈을 씹어도 몽색 소속을 차이다 하장 땅 가고. 되는 차네. 아니 다른 집에 땅 갈래. 시야자당고 동생 공부 배당의 차네. 제가 류를 잡아야 아니 하장도 가고 요새나도 또 가고 요. 제가 되는 차네. 아니 류 동안에 기침 송돼야 돼. 되는 차네. 제가 아주 문랑이야 무급이 밖에 말. 제가 그 상발라서 되는 주니 그문이 집에도 모두 최대진이 몽롱의 용고는 거롱의 용고라. 제가 오늘 밖에 준비 나네. 세대능이 지나 뭐랑은 거트 도고 몽롱은 못해 도고래. 대학에 가시 프레셔도 아니 그 그렇다 되면다네. 도스테 도고요. 제가 오늘 짐바 당이 있으니 동세에 보면 들었네. 응과다 몽롱이 좀 뭐, 아니 오늘 짐바 당 도고 이미 다 떼요. 제가 이런 거야 맞대. 어떠세요?
So then again, one of the great king in ancient India by the name of Jimmy Kundan. I don't remember his Indian name, but it's a Tibetan name. He was one of the most generous king ever at that time. And he has given away all his belongings in the beginning, all the jewels, gold, diamonds, whatever that owned by him, is given away to the people, whoever comes to him. And whatever they ask him to give, so he just give away. And finally, he has been given away everything, and then he has nothing left. But then he gave away his own, even the prince and princesses are given to the other people who have no kids. They came to, they took advantage of, they came to ask the king to give me your kids to me. He even give away that. So this is how first he gave all these belongings, his jewels and all, and then it's a little bit more. We are more attached to one's kids than the jewels, right? And then when he finished everything, then he has no other choice but to give away his kids. And then not only that, then he also given away his own wife to others. And then finally, there were people just came to ask for his eyes, and he just took out his eyeballs and given away to them. So now it sees us how the attachment, you could see that we have a less attachment to the belongings, such as our wealth. And then we have a little bit intense attachment towards one's kids, and then it goes more intense in one's wife, spouse, and one's own body. Then finally, he gave away his own body and so forth. So this is, the examples of how difficult it is for us when it comes to our body to give away. So therefore, we are suggested to engage in the practice, meditate, and especially to how one can, overcome, how one can really get rid of the attachment that we have towards our own body. It's just really, really difficult. The most difficult attachment that we have to get rid of our attachment is the attachment that we have towards our own body. So once you are actually perfected those practice, then when you are actually in the situation where you have to give away your body, you will have no regret, but very delightfully will be able to give away those bodies because one is completely perfected one's practice of generosity and we have no attachment. Without attachment will then bring actual happiness to all of us.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
Two things that you just said. One is the four non-attachments and the four attachments to non-attachments that are, I believe, I'm not sure what tradition they're in, but the first one was that if you are attached to your life, you're not a Dharma practitioner. If you're attached to the pleasures of samsara, you don't have renunciation. If you're attached to your own self-interest, you don't have bodhicitta. And the last one is that if you're attached to a self-grasping or self-cherishing, then you don't understand emptiness or selflessness. But what I was wondering is at this time when this was written, did the Chod practice exist where the mental offering of the body to the deities for protection or for the greater good or whatever? Did that exist at all at this time when this was written or the Chod practice?
All the time you can say you are now what it did, Rodonum. And the day take it there and the chick Lodonum jelly at Toyota Chirinas. And then the chair and the men on the Ajik Susa was the Tango Martin, Ajik Koji, Consum Peche, the guy Ajik Susa. Young Lala so the Gages are Sandela so we driven the share of the day to the day the church in the Yamena and the Dendel to and to get it things I the day she gave us and the soup.
That's what it's Hamatan, Dua Yura, Kuatan, Dua Yura, Lotan, Dua Yure, Quade, Tadakandumonso, or Carre, or the day, Jordan and the Yura. Chazan, what did that and the Jimbata, Chazan, Lutan, Jimbatan, Chazan Jimbati, Jokarina, Tare, Tonsepia Tare, Chazan Soso, any Jordani, just Solamambe, Mambo, Jen, then the Soso, Luchasaba. Tang, Tongsen Pea, what in the Tadam Biology Momoshiveri. I wanted to tell one. The Jota Tavase, common Deni Chibuchitan, Tenamar, Jus and Muni, Julie Hoyamar, that Jogi, the Cheso show. And then Winnie President to Wina, and the trade at the Nagan, Chandran, Tango, what the name, the Jibago, Tongsen Pea, Chibujan, and do you? Diwayula, and then Tandayina, knowledge in Yurta, knowledge in Chipukan Vokane, Mishimato, knowledge in Yure, the Najula, the Nagi knowledge in Yure.
So those are the practice we call the four remedies. Four remedies. And this practice is written by one of the great Sikha master. I don't remember his name. Yeah, it's a really, really, important practice that, it's pretty much related to Lamrim practice too. So that's what we call the four remedies. And then let's also mention here that the practice in the church practice, right?
Yes.
So this practice are very much related to the practice of generosity, particularly taking out of one's body, preparing one's body. And not only that, but also if we look at that's other Vajrayana practices such as, Vajrayana yogini practices, where there's the existence of just there's certain practices that we are imagining that even your bodies are cut down and feeding all the bloods and bones and your skins, offering to others and so on. So those are all not just a ritual practice, but it's a preparation for perfecting one's practice of generosity.
Yes. But is it also?
Because there are many practitioners, particularly in Tibet. We still have a lot of practitioners right now in Tibet.
Yeah.
Church practices.
Yeah.
They go to, they spend their night at the cemetery and during the, engaging in those practices.
So can I ask one last leading question?
Absolutely.
So is there, there must be a very interdependent or interconnectedness of generosity and dying, or the consciousness of giving up this life, and so it's almost like the direction of generosity seems to be more of your lifespan, like your offering of your body is just a metaphor for your offering of your life, so it's almost like an impermanent practice, like you're practicing. I could die right now at this moment, talking to you, that kind of immediateness in Dharma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Benedict so on the Benedict Chawakin Mapti, answer the Chidan, the Yamlay said to was in the Taco. So one time, the Benedict so one she had the Susu Sasso, things on Pachev, Jabba came here was. DJ is something I wish down 되게 아직 미다와리아 가서 소소 냠래다 군인이 되어야 지를 믿었어. 그래서 다 간다 미 간르로 신변하고 시에 고백 되어봤고 같이야는 수지 겹쳐 요마스. 그 치에 임을 가지 지에 치에데 소소 소아데 가서래 데멜리아 Because Madame Chiji, so Yamlay thought we did answer the auto said Jimena, could Midaway Yamlay, Midaway, and then Yamlay could tell you the never share. Midaway can go share.
Really, that Jimba Tine Tantung Soge Madaba Karsore Santa with Kitchenrilla. So the Soviet Jimba Tang Bicala so good, the Chamumutini new body. Jiki Madaba Yimba. The Najiki, Tamadaba Yimba, you do Madago, Juju to Baton Jiba Yimba. And the Jadani doing them by Yimba or call a Nibu Meba. And then Tabatu Lo Yoba, Tamjibu Dunzuki. Anything Chinese color that the Yoba. But the Legina, Tapanda Gubaji Shuchima Mombochita, Drini, and so the Lute Gubachimut the Legend Cheto, and the project Tang Turkey, Konojuma Mayimpachi, Tony Tangro, they need to talk about the
It is, related to practice of impermanence too. Really, because now we are so certain that that is something that cannot be prevented. Regardless of who we are, we all have a common path. The common path that we all have shared is the death. Since this is so, then instead of just giving out one's life or just exhausting our life or consuming our life meaninglessly, why don't we just, use our wonderful life, in other words, our body for practice?
Right.
Because none of us can escape from death. So death is already there. It will always come across and we will have to face the death. So with this kind of practice, it's also again, not only that you are perfecting the practice of generosity, but you're also perfecting practice of impermanence.
Yes. Okay, great. That's super. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much.
한번 더 줍니다.
Yes.
So we should say the dedication prayers, beginning on pages 23 and 24, and then continue with auspicious wishes on page 28. Dagi jine sate
Gewande tenan ruwa kala kapedan Chebara jesu lozan rabaye tembe nimbo rando saje sho
Saji puki
Joshe meto ran jara liye nyele nyemati Sanje yendo mende ruwaye Rogwe nanda yela jehara sho
Kewa kundu
Nyanda lama dan dame chuji pela ma chuji Sadan lamji yune razo ne doji changi gopa nyuzo shu
Yedam guru rajnam
Midala gane yanda me
Jetsun mami kutse
Ratenji nangara jile joju jivana Loza tembe drume sasoji Rue mese tato ni juroji
Kari wawe
Kowe jinkansu pedan dewa manu yumene Chere zama tenze janzoyi Yabe sede pato ten juroji
Champel pawu
Cheta chemba dan gondo zambo deyan deyende Teda gunji jisu daloji Gewa deda tamje rotogo Teson jibe jawa tamje Moa gala chodo ngapade Dagi give sawa digunji Zambo jeje rato moaji
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.